Okay, Hero, are you in? Okay, she's on. She's P Dingus Whale.
What?
P Dingus Whale on there.
Oh, keeping it quiet.
Yes. That's her. Okay, if you can give us both connecting and then also Pomolo.
Hey, ako, sabay din. Abal.
So that we don't have feather challenges.
Morning, morning, morning. Molweni, am I
Morning.
audible?
Morning, Chair. Morning.
Hey, I am struggling to open my video. I do not know. It says, please allow Zoom Workplace to access your camera from device settings. I am struggling. I have been setting it up, but I don't know what is happening. You know, these 4 IR things. I don't know what is happening with my gadget today. Show my video in color. Okay. Just see. Yeah. Did you all guys enjoy the weekend? Honorable Managa, are you
Chair.
well?
Yes, yes, I did.
Oh, okay,
Yes.
okay.
Thanks for asking.
Okay, my sister, Honorable De Block, did you have a pleasant weekend?
Good morning, my sister. How are you?
I'm good, I'm good, I'm good. Honorable Kumalo,
Morning, Chair. How are you?
I'm fine, Mama, I'm fine, I'm fine. I can hear that you are fine as well.
I'm fine. I'm very good.
Okay, Honorable Makasi, are you good?
Morning, Chair, and everyone in the platform. Kunjani, Chair?
Ndiyaphila sisi kunjani?
Ndiyaphila, ungamunawari ngevidiyo, siyakuva ngoku.
Yes, as Maria fail this thing now. Okay, ke sis. Honorable Mkhize,
Good morning.
alrighty, Dada.
Siphilile ninjani nina?
Ndiyaphila inkosi akukhonto.
Yebo, hayi. Siyabonga kakhulu.
Ngiyacenga. Okay, Honorable Mkhize. Honorable Pitch, how are you?
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, colleagues. I'm very well. I hope you are well as well.
No, I'm well. Is Honorable Temba in the meeting? Honorable Temba has not yet joined. Honorable Nalumango, I just saw her entering her office. Maybe she's still trying to log in. I did not leave anyone except the ones that have not yet logged in. Nalumango? Honorable Nalumango. Okay.
Chair,
Oh, okay.
I'm
No, I wanted
trying-
to check if we have logged in. Yeah, I can hear you, ma'am.
I'm
Are you
managing.
good?
I want to rename, but I don't see a place where I can rename my gadget. Can the
Okay.
host please rename me?
Well, we seem to have a problem today. I can't open my video, so but I can see that you are Nalumango at parliament.gov.za. At least we do have something with your surname on
Yeah.
it.
Correct, Chair.
Your email address.
I'm just from IT now.
Okay. No, it's fine.
I'll try and see where I can rename.
Okay. You can switch off the mic for now, Honorable Nalumango. Okay, thank you. And Tlansla, good morning.
Good morning, Chair.
Okay, I see that we have a delegation, but I do not have the list of all of them. I see there's a number of them that are in the meeting. Okay. I think we have to start now with our meeting. We are all here, except Honorable Temba, maybe he's going to join us. Members, today we are gathered to receive a comprehensive overview of the current state of air pollution in South Africa. We all know, honorable members, that Section 24 of our Constitution states that everyone has the right.
Recording in progress.
Everyone has a right to an environment that is not harmful to their health or well-being, and to have the environment protected for the benefit of the present and future generations through reasonable legislative and other measures. However, these constitutional rights are not being protected or realized by our fellow citizens, as air pollution continues to be a problem in our country. Colleagues and members, in 2022, a judgment by the Pretoria High Court recognized that the poor air quality in the Highveld priority areas breaches citizens' constitutional right to an environment that is not harmful to their health and well-being. As I've already stated, that it is clear and stated in our Constitution. The court found that the Minister of Environment is not implementing the necessary regulations to give effect to the objectives of the HPA declaration. As a result, of non-enforcement of environmental laws, a report from Health Effect Institute shows that air pollution is the second biggest threat to health in South Africa and causes 25,800 deaths a year, which translates to 71 deaths per day. This is very bad. This is an alarming number and should never be accepted as normal, because these are our children, our elderly, and those who are disadvantaged and who are particularly coming from vulnerable homes. Research has shown conclusively that both short-term and long-term exposures to air pollution can contribute to serious effects on health, ranging from temporary to chronic and fatal conditions.
Like simplify the language so that
It
the man
is
on the
not-
street can understand.
There is someone who have unmuted. Okay. It is not acceptable that 2023 average PM2.5 concentration in South Africa is 4 times the World Health Organization annual air quality guideline value. Breathing in unhealthy levels of PM2.5 increases the risk of health problems like heart disease, asthma, low birth weight. Unhealthy levels can also reduce visibility and cause car accidents. It is also worrying that, honorable members, Gauteng province has overtaken Mpumalanga to be pollution epicenter of South Africa. And the goal of this committee is to ensure that all spheres of government do their work to improve air quality in the country, and we move closer to realization of the constitutional ideas where pollutants are accurately monitored and kept within health levels, and that they should be held accountable. With these remarks, honorable members and colleagues, I welcome all of you. And also I am looking forward to our discussions with the department and the representative from Greenpeace Africa. I believe that we will have fruitful engagements to improve the current state of equality in our country. I welcome all of you in the meeting. Kandla, can you flight the agenda for us? Okay. We are on apologies. I have received sorry, the following apologies. One is from Minister George. He is attending Cabinet Committee meeting. The other one is from DM Swartz. She is attending 36th meeting of the parties to the Montreal Protocol in Thailand, so she is out of the country. And also Honorable Singh, he is also out of the country. He is in Colombia, attending COP16 on Biodiversity Conference. We also have an apology from the DG, Ms. Shabalala. She has other engagements. The leader of the delegation today will be the acting DG, or Ms. Mamokhadi Mashal. I know that we also have the delegation from Greenpeace Africa. They will indicate when it's their time to do presentation, whether who will be leading the delegation. Honorable members, can we then, we all see the agenda. I'm not sure whether you want me to go through to it so that we can adopt it, or we will have a briefing by the department on the state of equality. And then after that, we will have questions and deliberations, followed by briefing by Greenpeace Africa on air pollution report titled Major Air Polluters in Africa Unmasked. That will also be followed by questions and deliberations. After, we will have closing remarks and the meeting will be adjourned. Can I then move for the adoption of the agenda, honorable members? I see the hand of Honorable Nalumango. You can shoot, Honorable Nalumango.
Good morning, Chair, and good morning to everyone on the Zoom platform. I would like to just move for the adoption of the agenda. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nalumango. May I get a seconder? Can I get a seconder, honorable members? For the adoption of the agenda.
I second the adoption of the agenda.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Acting DG, I am now going to hand over to you as a leader of the delegation to brief us. Honorable, Acting DG Mashala. Over to you, ma'am.
Good morning. Good morning, Honorable Chair, honorable members. Thank you for the opportunity to have the department brief the portfolio committee in terms of the state of affairs in as far as how we are complying to the state of air quality management in the country. With me, Chair, I have senior managers who are responsible for this particular area. being led by the acting DDG, Dr. Kwaze. If I may just allow them to quickly introduce themselves, please. And then I will take us through the details.
It's fine, Ms. Mashala. They can introduce themselves and open the video. You can switch off your video as well. We've seen you.
Thank you. Dr. Kwaze?
Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable Members, Acting DG and colleagues. My name is Patience Kwaze. I'm the Chief Director, Air Quality Management, and currently acting Deputy Director in Air Quality Management and Climate Change Branch. Thank you.
Can we see your face, madam? Can you open your video? Thank you. You are beautiful. We see you. Thank you. Acting DG will call them. The others.
Mr. Lotte?
Thank you, Acting DDG, Honorable Chair, Honorable Members. My name is Victor Loate. I am the Director responsible for sector compliance, environmental impact, and pollution in the DFFE. I'm
Can
having
you
a
switch
bit of
on
a
your
challenge
video,
with my.
Victor?
Okay.
Are you, if it's possible? Okay, yeah, we can see the
Yes,
handsome
Chair. I'm
face.
using two screens. Am I visible?
Yeah, you are visible.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. The last one, Acting DG.
Thanks. Can I have Mr. Setsedi?
Mr. Setsedi, we want to see your face.
Morning, Chair. My name is Marutambezi, Senior Specialist Quality Information Systems and Modeling. I'm standing in for Mr. Sichedi. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thanks, Chair. The rest of the other colleagues, admin support from the department as well as the portfolio committee liaison officials. I will not necessarily introduce them. The key ones that which have introduced themselves are the ones that which are going to assist in terms of the presentation from a technical point of view, as well as providing responses. Honorable Chair and members, whilst the country has made significant strides to improve the quality of air since the promulgation of the National Environmental Management Air Quality Act in 2004, and progressively facilitating the realization of the constitutional right to an environment that promotes sustainable, equitable, and inclusive growth that is not harmful to the health and well-being of citizens. What we aim to provide to yourselves today is a report that underscores our progress in air quality management while highlighting areas of complexities as well. We will be providing a foundational understanding of our current compliance efforts, the challenges and ongoing initiatives in air quality management, specifically to the areas that which have been identified. We'll also summarize the key insights in terms of the minimum emission standards compliance, the capacity that which we have, the infrastructure, as well as the regulatory outcomes in this particular regard. The report will also highlight key considerations that which we are implementing to strengthen air quality management in the country. Allow me, Chair, to then hand over to Dr. Kwaze, who will take us through the presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Acting DG. Over to Dr. Kwaze.
Thank you very much, Chair. As has been indicated by the acting DG, I will take you through the foundational principles that govern the work that we undertake in air quality management, focusing on our implementation of the legislative requirements. I will focus on a couple of components in the functions that we undertake to fulfill this mandate. Next slide, please. I'll give an overview on the regulatory framework. I'll talk about the status of the implementation on a number of tools that we have. I'll talk about the success and complexities that is highlighted by the acting DG, and looking ahead on some of the interventions that we are putting in place. Next slide. As you have indicated, Chair, the Air Quality Act is governed, provides the measures that we need to put in place to prevent pollution, to promote to reduce ecological degradation, to secure ecological sustainable development, while promoting justifiable economic and social development. One of the components that is critical in air quality legislation is the norms and standards in how we regulate air quality, from the monitoring perspective, how we manage polluters, how we control polluters. And because air quality management is a concurrent function across spheres of government, we have an additional complexity where we need to coordinate the implementation of the air quality legislation across the three spheres. Next slide. We describe our air quality management through what we call our air quality governance cycle. I'll go through this cycle to indicate the functions that we undertake in air quality management. At the top of the slide is issues around problem identification. You highlighted the issues of the Highveld cold case, which comes from the identification of the Highveld priority area as an area that we needed to prioritize for implementation of air quality legislation. When we've identified a challenge or problem, we then define strategies. And strategy definition includes creating community awareness, developing standards that we have put in place, our ambient air quality standards, for a measure on the levels of pollution that is acceptable to the protection of human health. We also put standards in terms of the amount of pollution that emitters can put into the atmosphere. We develop policies and regulations to support these strategies. One of the critical tools that we have is the impact management, authorization, compliance monitoring, and enforcement. These are the components where we are dealing with the specific polluters, and we call it a command and control tool that assists us in authorizing the polluters, in managing the polluters and their emissions, monitoring the pollution from the polluters, and enforcement where necessary. Our last tool is information management. All the work that we undertake is supported by information management, which includes our air quality monitoring networks, our information systems that forms the driver to assist us in understanding if the problems that we have identified, the strategies that we have developed, the interventions that we have put in place are getting us to a place where we need to. Next slide. Next slide, please. Go back to, may you please go back? May you please go back? May you please go back? The governance cycle can be described by 4 components. Our ability to coordinate and work as the 3 spheres of government through cooperative governance as is required by legislation to implement the legislation. The development of legislation as well as planning, atmospheric emission licensing and authorization, and our efforts to monitor, evaluate information, and manage pollution, as well as communicating to the rest of the stakeholders. The presentation that I'm going to be giving going forward will focus on these 4 arms of the functions that we undertake. These functions are undertaken not only by the national department, but by all the 3 spheres of government. So when we look at coordination, we are not only looking at coordination from the lateral structure, but we're also looking at vertical coordination as how we engage with the 3 spheres of government, within the 3 spheres of government. Next slide. Next slide, please. In terms of legislation, you have highlighted the Constitution, our NEMA, the Air Quality Act. We have what we call the National Framework for Air Quality Management. The National Framework provides the norms and standards that support the air quality legislation, noting that the air quality has got a number of complexities that needs to be unpacked so that the roles and responsibilities of the 3 spheres of government can be put in, can be clearly identified. We have air quality management plans that are developed by the 3 spheres of government that govern our objective towards improvement of air quality. And those air quality management plans contain the measures and the interventions that all the 3 spheres of government must implement. We have municipal bylaws and the strategies that we also put in place. In terms of regulations, the Air Quality Act has matured and it has been in place for over 20 years now. We have put a number of legislations in place. When you look at regulations, we have got the impacts regulations, we have got regulations for the management of dust that we are in the process of amending and reviewing. We have processing fee for atmospheric emission license. We have regulations for reporting emissions by the significant emitters, particularly those with atmospheric emission license. And last but not least, we have priority area regulations for the enforcement of priority area management plans. And this is a critical regulation that we recently put in place in August this year to support our efforts in the 3 priority areas, noting the need to further enforce the implementation of the plans that we have developed. In terms of the notices, we have a number of notices that we have put in place. The first one, I think that is quite common and critical, is what we call the listed activities and minimum emission standards. This is a notice that we have put in place that identified the significant emitters, that we then say those significant emitters must then have atmospheric emission license that support the command and control tool that we have, and we can monitor how they comply to the minimum emission standards. We have revised this notice over the years. Another critical tool is the ambient air quality standards that we have put in place in 2009 as well as in 2012. This provides a yardsticks, as you have indicated, our levels of pollution and how we define the levels of air pollution that is not harmful to the health and well-being of all South Africans. We do acknowledge that our ambient air quality standards are not necessarily at par with the current standard as defined by the guidelines as defined by the WHO, but we are moving towards those. And last but not least, the noise and odor standards that are under development. Next slide. In terms of cooperative governance, we have a decentralized structure where the 3 spheres of government have concurrent functions on the implementation of the legislation. We coordinate this work through the intergovernmental coordination of the MINTEC Working Group 2, where the national and provincial air quality officers have a standing forum that meets quarterly. The provincial air quality officers, as well as the municipal air quality officers, also meet in terms of the provincial air quality officers forums, and those forums are mandated forums that must be held every quarter of the financial year. We have what we call the Air Quality Governance Lekotla, which is an event that we undertake once every year, and we have been doing so for the past 18 years in partnership with the National Clean Air Association, National Association for Clean Air. This is a partnership where once every year, all air quality officials meet to engage on the interventions that we have put in place, look at the successes and challenges that we are experiencing in the implementation of the air quality legislation. In terms of coordinating the functions, each sphere of government is mandated by law to designate an air quality officer. In my capacity, I'm the designated air quality officer at the national level, as designated by the minister. Provinces and metros have 100% designation of air quality officers. Districts not as high as the national and provinces, and local government has the lowest ability to designate air quality officers. And you will see that throughout this presentation, you will see a common thread where the provincial, metro, and district municipalities have got the ability to put interventions in place, has the ability to put and designate air quality officers, but local government faces the majority of the challenges. Next slide. In terms of air quality management planning, the law requires that each sphere of government puts in place an air quality management plan that provides for the measures to improve air quality within a specific jurisdiction. And those plans must form part of the IDP so that they can be fully funded to support the work of air quality. Of the provinces and metros, there's significant improvement in the ability to have air quality management plans. To some extent, the district municipalities, but as you can see, local spheres of government, not all local spheres of government have got the ability, and it's a number of challenges that I'll highlight further down. We've also identified air quality hotspots that I'll talk to further down the road. If you can see from the maps, provinces such as KwaZulu-Natal and Mpumalanga still require that they put in their air quality management plans. At district level, while Northern Cape does not have air quality management plans at the district level, the provincial government has taken it upon themselves to coordinate the work of the and implementation of most of the activities. So the provincial air quality management plan serves as the plan for the province. Next slide. In terms of the priority areas, I think this is an intervention that the National Department has put in place since 2006. In blue is the Highveld, the Vaal Triangle Air-shed priority area. This is a priority area that has been identified with the understanding that the quality of air in that area was not meeting ambient air quality standards. And so intervention needed to be put in place through the declaration of the priority area by the minister. And that was done in 2006. In 2007, the Highveld priority area was declared. That's the area in purple. It includes the Kangala Ketsibanda district and the entire Ekurhuleni metro. Lastly, in 2012, the Waterberg-Bojanala priority area was declared. That includes the Waterberg and the Bojanala districts. The declaration of the priority areas was identified, and we identified as a tool that can assist us to manage those areas that have got significant challenges in air pollution, and we call them hotspots. With this declaration, it has allowed us to put in air quality management plans that transcend across the three spheres, so that as the three spheres of government, we can coordinate and implement the air quality concurrently to improve the quality of air within those areas. We have multi-stakeholder reference group that form the coordinating structures and implementation task teams that are based on the district within the specific priority areas. To strengthen the implementation of the air quality management plans in those priority areas, we have put in the regulations that have indicated that came into effect in August this year. Those regulations provide the mechanism for us to further improve the enforcement of the priority area air quality management plans. Because as you can see, it's been a while since we declared these priority areas. And the fact that we are still seeing non-compliance means that further measures have to be put in place so that we can have targeted interventions and emission reduction plans in place so for the polluters to improve the quality of air. If we look on the map, you also see that the area of West Rand, City of Tshwane, City of Johannesburg is not fully covered, and that's the area that is in a slight green color in between. We are working with the municipalities to intervene and ensure that this priority area covers the entire West Rand, City of Tshwane, City of Johannesburg, and Bojanala, because the quality of air within that area between the Waterberg-Bojanala, Vaal Triangle, and Highveld is equally compromised in some areas. And so we are of the view that in the next few months, we will be presenting for consideration the proposal to extend the priority area so that the interventions that we are putting in place through the implementation of the priority area regulations that we've just put in place will be strengthened across the whole of Gauteng, as you have indicated that it's an area that requires significant intervention. Next slide. Next slide. In terms of our atmospheric emission license, we are showing you the work that we've undertaken since 2019 when we had the records. The law requires that we not only manage the atmospheric emission licenses, but we issue this atmospheric emission license within legislated timeframes. And this is a target that we track as the working group 2. In 2019-2020, we were sitting at 32%, so we could only issue atmospheric emission license with an efficiency of 32%. As we sit in 24-25, we are sitting at 95%. So over the years, we have managed to assist each other to bring in the efficacy of authorization to the level that we are sitting in today. We acknowledge that there was a special cabinet decision made between 2021 and 2022, which accelerated our ability to improve from 62% to 87% through that intervention. We've continued to train municipalities at a district level and a metro level so that they can increase their ability ability to issue these licenses on time. We used to have a system that we were using for this work. Even though we have lost the system, we are still able to issue these licenses manually as we develop a new system to come back online. Next slide. Next slide. In terms of our infrastructure for air quality monitoring, the law requires that government supports and monitors the quality of air to provide information to the public so that they can understand the state of air quality. In the first column of this table is the different provinces and the South African Weather Service. In the first column is the number of monitoring stations that each municipality, each province has in place. At a country level, we've got about 130 monitoring stations across the country. The column in the middle shows the number of monitoring stations that are meeting data requirements. What we do with these monitoring stations is on a quarterly and a monthly basis, we monitor the ability of these monitoring stations to feed information to the South African Air Quality Information System. And not only are we monitoring the ability to feed information, we also look at the efficacy to collect information consistently and continuously so that we can make decisions that are representative and accurate. 41 stations are able to do that. In terms of not meeting standards but operational, 55 stations are operating but not meeting standards. There are a number of stations that are not operational, and there are different reasons that are indicating so. Why is the Weather Service part of the list? The Weather Service is mandated in terms of the Weather Service Act to support the National Department through air quality monitoring in the priority areas that I've just described before. And that's why they form part of the sectors that we track for the performance on the monitoring stations. Next slide. Next slide, please. There are many reasons that have challenged us in the ability to meet the requirements. The first one is related to our ability to transmit data from the monitoring stations to our South African Air Quality Information System that I will show in the next slide. Equipment breakdown, the limited funding for maintenance of this equipment. Just to give you a figure, Chair, each monitoring station costs an average of 3.5 million rand to commission. So the investment has been significant from government. However, we do acknowledge that this equipment is internationally sourced, and it requires that there is significant capacity to manage this equipment as well as to maintain it. So we have a reliance on service providers to do this work for us. And since in most cases, there's shortage of skills for the maintenance of the monitoring stations and hence our reliance on service providers. And we also acknowledge that most of this infrastructure was commissioned about 10 to 15 years ago. And so some of this infrastructure is no longer functioning with the efficacy that is required. And we need to have the resources to recapitalize our equipment. In the past few years, until early this year, we faced challenges with power supply because all this equipment must be powered continuously to maintain the equipment as well as the temperature in this equipment shed. And we experienced load shedding that challenged our ability to effectively manage these monitoring stations. Next slide. Despite the challenges that we have experienced, we have put a number of interventions in place. One of the interventions is to look at the ability to recapitalize and improve station performance. That is work that is ongoing within the spheres of government. We have also noted the challenges in terms of procurement, and we have established a transversal contract with National Treasury to assist us to streamline the management of our monitoring stations in terms of procurement of services as well as procurement of equipment. And this work is currently underway, and we are rolling out this transversal contract. We have also noted that our equipment, because it's internationally sourced, because it's complex, and because it's expensive, we need to assess our ability to use other air quality monitoring techniques that exist on a global scale. And we are introducing what we are calling low-cost sensor monitoring to complement our existing reference monitoring infrastructure and improve not only our national coverage, but fill in the gaps that we do not have monitoring when equipment fails. We are investing in power backups, and I think one of the entities that has done so effectively is the South African Weather Service to address the issues of power disruption. And last but not least, we have partnered with private sector, particularly those that we have issued atmospheric emission license to say you can assist us and support our ability to monitor air quality across the country. And as we sit in our South African Air Quality Information System, we have over 60 private stations that are complementing the government network. So in total, we have almost over 200 monitoring stations that provide information to support decision-making in the country. Next slide. The information from all these monitoring stations is fed into what we call our South African Air Quality Information System, SAQIS in short. The information is provided through a website and an app, and the portfolio committee, you were at the South African Weather Service, I think 2 weeks ago, where there was a demonstration of this infrastructure. And this is an infrastructure that we take pride in because it's an infrastructure that provides us with the ability to give and provide information to the communities live on the state of air quality, and the public is able to access this information freely, not only to know the state of air quality from where they are, but to also use for decision-making. It's used for research, and it's given us the ability not only to monitor air quality, but to also manage at the back end of the system, the monitoring stations that I've just described before, because this infrastructure allows us to see remotely our infrastructure and how our infrastructure performs. As you can see from the map of South Africa, the coverage is quite biased towards the areas where we've got the largest population distribution, and also the areas with the challenges of pollution, which is the priority areas that I just described, nearly all the metros, and we have a significant gap in Northern Cape and the north of Eastern Cape and Western Cape, and this is really due to the ability for us to expand our monitoring station, and these are the areas that, resource permitting, we would like to look at local sensor monitoring in those areas so that we can increase our coverage. Next slide. The information that we get from this monitoring station is critical for us, not only to give information on the quality of air. The slide I just showed you before tells you the state of air quality on an hourly basis. But we also use this information to track our ability to intervene on the quality of air and improve the quality of air. The slide I'm showing you is one of the indicators that we use, which is what we call the National Air Quality Indicator. A National Air Quality Indicator is an indicator that assesses the annual contributions of the monitoring stations, provides an average, and then weighs that average against our standards. So whenever the indicator is above 1, it means we are in non-compliance at a national level. And when the indicator is below 1, it means we are in compliance. And over the years, we have tracked our ability to improve the quality of air in the Republic. And the graph can show that while there were some improvements along the way, we still have some significant way to go. In this slide on the right side, we show the indicator, but not only for the rest of the country, but for the priority areas. And you can see that for the priority areas, the indicators of the priority areas show that we are above 1, which means most of these priority areas are in non-compliance with ambient air quality standards, hence the declaration, and hence the need for us to put interventions to improve the quality of air. Next slide. We also use an indicator that assesses the number of days with good air quality. Chair, you highlighted Gauteng as an area of concern. And where are we getting this information from? We understand that if we have the ambient air quality standards, we know our pollutants that we are monitoring from the monitoring stations, we can have an indicator that says how many days for the different monitoring stations, if we can conglomerate this information, how many days do we have clean air in Gauteng, in all the different provinces. So at a provincial level, you see that Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Free State, Northwest, and Limpopo have the largest challenges. What we are expecting is that our air quality will have 365 days of clean air, and Gauteng, Mpumalanga, Free State, and Limpopo and Northwest have the lowest number of days. And those are also the provinces that we have declared as priority areas for the interventions that we are putting in place. We know that the trends on the quality of air are influenced by what we call dust or particulate matter. We also know that this indicator is showing that we the areas that we have identified as priority areas still need interventions, because over the past 5 years, we still have not seen maybe the improvement that we are expecting. We need to then consider the expansion to include the majority of Gauteng, noting the challenges that Gauteng is experiencing. We acknowledge that there's transportation of pollution. We also acknowledge that there might be need for us to improve coverage of our air quality monitoring stations. But however, even with this information that we have at the moment, we are able to see the areas where we need to go back and intervene more to improve the quality of air. Next slide. There are a number of internal complexities that we are grappling with as the air quality sector. I think we're economic budget and economic constraints, particularly for air quality monitoring stations. There are expensive equipment that require constant and long-term financial commitments, and it's not always the case that these financial commitments are provided for by the different spheres of government, and it presents challenges. The issue of prioritization of air quality management functions in terms of the different spheres of government, not all of them do recognize the challenges that we sit with. We engage with them, but sometimes the priorities then require that air quality might not necessarily get the fair share of the support from the administrators. We have challenges of human capacity, particularly when it comes to the area where we want to go into to improve our ability to monitor compliance and enforce the air quality legislation, particularly in the priority area. We continually face the risk of litigation and regulatory risk. I think the chair introduced the discussion with the Highveld court case and our ability as government to respond quickly to improve the quality of air. We acknowledge that in some cases, the capacity of industry is challenged to reduce emissions. Issues of finances, technical capacity, particularly when we're coming out of COVID, when we had facilities that had interventions and roadmaps that they were supposed to implement to improve the quality of air by putting interventions in place and reducing pollution. And last but not least, I think the balancing act of environmental compliance and our ability to grow economy in a fossil fuel economy does present a balancing challenge for air quality implementation, and it adds on to the complexities. Next slide. Next slide, ma'am. Despite all these complexities and challenges, there are 4 areas that we have identified as a sector that we will be working on in the next 5 years to improve our ability to bring the country into compliance with ambient air quality standards. The first one is improving coordination and cooperative governance. Air quality is not only affected by the polluters as we know them, the individual polluters that we have issued atmospheric emission licenses to, but we also recognize that there are other sectors such as our ability to manage waste, our ability to have transport sector that is public based, our ability to provide human settlements with cleaner energy and the operations of mines. All these add to the complexities of air quality management. So as a sector, we are engaging with those other sectors to improve their ability to deliver the services, because they have indirect and core benefits to air quality management. We are focusing in the short term on our ability to engage with the colleagues in waste management, in particular landfill management and residential waste services, so that we can reduce the reduction of the waste management burning has an indirect and direct benefits to air quality. Field fire burning is also an area that we are focusing on. In terms of political, financial, and administrative work, we are working to ensure that air quality management functions have established air quality management structures, particularly at local government level. Air quality in some cases does sit within other departments, and they might not necessarily always get the priority that they might require. And we need to advocate. We are working with SALGA to advocate for the resourcing of air quality management functions, particularly at provincial and municipal level, whether it's the designation of air quality officials, whether it's the environmental management inspectorates, or the resourcing of air quality management functions, but also to align air quality management planning with the strategic other government priorities, so that air quality does not necessarily sit as a standalone function, but it's incorporated within the IDP with the rest of the functions to improve service delivery and our ability to improve air quality. Next slide. In terms of capacity of the state, we will look, and this is what we've been doing, but maybe we need to enforce it, to look at it closely. We are working on local government to improve their ability to develop air quality management plans that can talk to the IDPs so that they can be resourced. We are looking at coordinating compliance and enforcement to ensure that polluters reduce emissions, noting that we do not have the capacity at an individual level to implement particularly compliance monitoring and enforcement. We are looking at coordinated approach with the spheres of government so that when we undertake compliance monitoring, we can get together as the three spheres and improve our ability to target significant emitters and enforce atmospheric emission license, and into the future priority area regulations that have dedicated and requirements for us to introduce emission reduction measures for the significant emitters. In the long term, I think as a sector, we're also looking to identify continuous improvements in technologies. Where can we advance the work of air quality and industry, support industries to improve their ability to comply? And I think, I don't know if I should say this, but I think it's work that is really at the preliminary stage where we are working with DTIC to see how we can support our industries to improve their ability to comply. In terms of education and awareness, we recognize that air quality requires that we change human behavior. So we are intensifying our campaigns with communities, regular dissemination of information, and interacting with communities and schools on a continuous basis, and making this kind of work a regular work so that when we engage, particularly, for example, when we engage at Lekotla, we bring in the school children, and we have done so in the past 2 months alone. We have engaged with more than, I think, 12 schools in Eastern Cape, 5 schools in Mpumalanga, and a number of schools in Limpopo, because we find that when we bring them to a common engagement, when we have these big events that we undertake, we can bring in the school children and they participate in our events, and we can raise awareness with the communities and the school children. We're also looking at partnering with industries. Industries does take a number of community activities, and we need to look at how we can partner with industries so that when we undertake those community events, we can also piggyback on the support that we can get from industry. And this was a discussion that we had strongly in our priority area summit 2 weeks ago, when we brought in industry to indicate to them our intention to engage closely with them to when they are undertaking community engagements. Next slide. So in conclusion, Chair, we recognize that air pollution is a leading environmental concern. And you have said it subsequently in the beginning of the slide, the burden of disease from the Medical Research Council indicates so. There are multiple agendas that are talking not necessarily to air quality, but to the improving sustainable development, to improving service delivery. And as air quality, we recognize that we need to piggyback on those activities and on all those interventions, not only our own air quality management plans, but the activities in the NDP, the Africa Agenda, Sustainable Development Goals, because all those interventions will assist us in achieving the objectives of reducing air pollution and improving the quality of air that South Africans are exposed to. And our efforts we recognize that we need to enhance our efforts to improve the quality of air in the Republic. And we recognize with the priority area regulations that the priority areas are critical. We also recognize our metros, metropolitan areas are critical, and what we are calling air quality hotspots. You will see that in the map of South Africa, when you focus on the priority areas and the metros, there are areas such as Saldanha Bay, Richards Bay, South Durban, Quebec, and Nelson Mandela Bay that needs further attention. We are calling them hotspots, and we have interventions that we are already initiating to assist the municipalities in those areas to improve the quality of air. So, Chair, I hope I've given an overview that can assist for the discussions. Thank you very much for your attention, Chair.
Thank you, Dr. Kwaze. Acting DG, I don't think you want to add anything before I give over to members for questions and deliberations.
I think Dr. Kwaze has covered the key issues. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. Members? We have received the
Chair,
presentation. We have received the
Chair.
presentation. Yes.
Chairperson.
Yes, Honorable Manaka.
Yes, we heard the presenter very well. Do you want
Okay.
us to
Can you mute Dr. Manaka and raise your hand with your respect, ma'am? Because I am now going to note hands for people who want to speak. May I request Nombini M to mute her mic? If it's a he, if it's a she, if it's a he, can you please mute your mic? Nombini M, can you mute your mic? Otherwise, I am going to request that you be removed in this platform. Members, I am now going to note hands. I see the hand of Honorable De Block, the hand of Honorable Mkize, followed by the hand of Honorable Kumalo, Honorable Manaka, Honorable Nalumango, and followed by Honorable Makasi, lastly, Honorable Temba. In that order, honorable members. Honorable De Block.
Thank you, Chair, and a good morning from me to everyone in the room, honorable members, presenters from the department, staff members, guests. It's wonderful to be meeting as a committee. I always enjoy our engagements. And today is a particularly interesting topic. I have quite a few questions. The first is, what carrot or stick, or in other words, incentives or penalties, does the department have to entice or force municipalities and provinces to draw up their AQMPs where they don't already have them? How are you going to get them to comply, essentially? A general comment, and this is something that perhaps can be fed back to the broader department, acting DG, is just to make maps and legends legible on the slides. It's very difficult sometimes to understand what's being depicted or graphed if it's not in big enough print or clear. That's just a comment, doesn't need a response. The last question I have before a little bit of a statement is, I was a bit alarmed by the, well, let me put it this way, the private sector monitoring stations that are assisting with the monitoring of air quality. I think that's a noble idea, and the more monitoring stations we can have, the better. But it was the fact that those who had been granted AELs were assisting with the monitoring. I just wanted to ask if they are doing their own monitoring of themselves and feeding that back to the department, does that not create a situation where those data might be skewed, or you have a situation of someone being the player and the referee if you're using their own data to monitor them, as opposed to independent data or departmental data? So just some clarity there, and hopefully put my mind at ease. And then a last statement before we move on, and I think this will probably come through in the later presentation, but I think it's worth saying that our insistence as South Africa on a coal-driven energy sector is, in the context of air quality, always going to be a problem until that changes. There are a few coal stations that are coming offline in the next 5 years. We've had Komati go offline recently, but there are a few that are coming to the end of life as well, which will ease the burden on Mpumalanga. But it still stands to reason that until we move away from coal as the main source of our energy, obviously we need a stable energy source, but or supply rather. But in terms of air quality and the health implications, which, Chair, I thought you so brilliantly alluded to in the opening remarks, it's not going to get better. So I think we as a committee need to do all we can to encourage our government and the various departments that are involved to move towards more clean energy for the sake of our citizens and their basic human rights, which are being violated. And we also need to work against those entrenched interests in government that continue to slow the just energy transition. So I just wanted to say that because I felt it was important, Chair. Thank you for indulging me. That's it.
Thank you, Honorable de Blok. Honorable Mkiza.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings, honorable members, Acting DG, Dr. Kwase. Greetings to everyone attending this meeting. Thank you very much for this wonderful and well-presented presentation. And it is quite informative. But I'll just need a few clarification in some regards. With the case of Vaal Triangle, Highveld and Waterberg-Bojanala as priority areas, how are communities in these areas being engaged and informed about air quality issues? And the second question would be, how many enforcement actions have been taken against non-compliance industries? The annual number of days that we are given from the presentation with good air quality, the Gauteng have been tabled as the worst province with clean air. How is the public involved in air quality decision-making processes, maybe so that they'll improve, especially the Gauteng province? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkize. Honorable Kumalo.
Thank you very much, Chair. Greetings, Chairperson, to your good self and members of the portfolio and our officials that are part of this meeting. Chair, I want also to join those members who have welcomed the report from Dr. Kwazo, but I'm having just only two questions that I want clarity on. One, Chair, what mechanisms are in place to enforce the regulation established for priority areas, and how effective are they in driving the implementation of a quality management plan? Secondly, Chair, what are the primary challenges faced by air quality monitoring stations, particularly in the Eastern Cape, and how do these challenges impact data accuracy and reporting? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable Managa.
Thank you, Honorable Chairperson, and greetings to all the members who are in this meeting, our officials who are present, and also the acting DDG, and also our presenters and officials from SOurce. Honorable Chairperson, we visited the SOurce early this month. One of the challenges that they raised was that their equipment to monitor the air quality are being vandalized in different stations. I just want to know if whether they do have some plans that they put in place in order to prevent the vandalism of those expensive machines that they have there. When we visited the wheat bank area, still audible?
Yes, you
Okay.
are, Mama. You are audible. Yes.
Just bear with me. I'm using the cell phone to link.
Okay.
When
Okay,
we
no
visited
problem.
the area in Mpumalanga called Wheat Bank, most of our members, they came back being sick. Then we were left with a question on whether the air that is there is polluted or what might be the cause. So what is the percentage of the pollutants that are in that area of Wheat Bank? The issue, when the presenter was presenting, the doctor kept on talking about three spheres of government. Doctor, you said a point on awareness raising. I want to understand how are you involving the municipality in this issue of making sure that there's no pollution, especially atmospheric pollution? Because one of the pollutants, I'm not going to talk about the industrial emissions, I'm going to talk about the waste incineration. According to the knowledge that I've gathered, waste is not supposed to be incinerated or it's not supposed to be burned. But if you can move across our townships and villages, Honorable Chair, you will see that this practice is not followed. People are burning the waste. And when waste is burned, they do produce toxins, they do produce heavy metals. And these metals do have impact on the health of our people, in addition to those other complications or those other effects that we have alluded to, Honorable Chair, earlier. Waste can also affect respiratory system, which lead to different respiratory diseases. It can also cause cardiovascular diseases, and premature death can ensure in case they are not properly managed. So my question to you is, how are you making sure that the waste that is being collected or the waste that are being collected from our municipalities, our household, are not burned so that they cannot add on polluting our atmospheric air? Let me pause here, Honorable Chairperson.
Okay, Honorable Managa, thank you. Honorable Nalumango? Can other members lower their hands, please? So sorry, Honorable Member. Can other members who have already spoken lower their hands, please? Over to you, Honorable Nalumango.
Thank you, Chair, and greetings once again to everyone on the platform this morning. I have 3 specific questions, Chair. How can intergovernmental coordination be strengthened to address air pollution sources that span multiple mandates, such as waste management and energy? What kind of enforcement measures are in place to enhance polluters to reduce emissions? And what specific technical capacity improvements are needed to enhance air quality management at the state level? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Nalumango. Honorable Makas.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings again to everyone in the meeting and officials as led by the acting DDG. My questions, Chair, in welcoming the presentation, which was informative, is what strategies are in place to address the aging infrastructure of air quality monitoring systems to ensure their sustainability? The second one is how can we or the department improve the community engagement and awareness campaign to be effectively implemented to promote behavior change and reduce air pollution levels? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makasi. Honorable Temba.
Greetings, Honorable Chair, DM, DTGs, and Dr. Kwasa, and everyone attended the meeting. My question is on slide 10, which is we want to know, has the atmospheric emissions licensing management system been fully restored since 2022 disruption? If not, what immediate measures can be taken to resolve the atmospheric emission licensing management system offline status, ensure effective implementation? And question number 3, what measures are in place to prevent similar disruption? I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Temba. You may lower your hand, sir. DG and the team from my side, some of the questions have been asked by the members. I have one or two questions. DG, acting DG, South Africa has had Equality Act regulations and minimum emissions standard for 10 years, for more than 20 years. And yet, equality continues to be a problem in our country. I just want to ask from the department, what is preventing effective implementation compared to other developing countries? Because they seem to have are performing well, way better than us in South Africa. And how are the non-compliant industries penalized, if they are penalized? And are these penalties effective? The second question, again, in terms of Equality Act, it is a requirement that pollution prevention plans and annual progress reports, they be submitted to the minister for consideration and possible approvals. Can you tell us what has been the trend in terms of submissions of these reports and progress in pollution preventing from polluters and verification of submitted reports? Can you also share with us that? And lastly, from my side, I have in my input indicated that the ruling of the High Court that was set in 2022. Can you then tell us, since March 2022, how much progress has the department made to address this urgent directive? And what are the timelines that the department had set itself to fully comply with the court ruling? I am going to hand over to you, acting DG, then the team will assist you in terms of responding to the questions that were raised by the members. Over to you, acting DG.
Thanks, Chair. Chair, I'm going to just really talk at a high level, and the team will then talk to the specific questions. But what I wanted to really bring forth is that in terms of compliance roadmap implementation, we have had the minimum emission standards postponement, that which allows or facilities that which are unable to meet the new standards to continue operating under specific limits until compliance is achieved. And to date, we actually have about 45 facilities that which hold such kind of postponements. And with Eskom having about 16 power stations, yes, there are processes that which have been put in place that which requires the facilities to report on a quarterly basis in terms of compliance, and that is what we are currently monitoring to ensure that the postponement decisions are actually integrated in the actual implementation. But members would also be aware that from the capacity point of view, especially at local authorities, which are very critical in terms of compliance enforcement. Apologies for that. Most of our municipalities still face a lot of challenges in terms of designation and training. And this in itself has led to designation rates being lower and hence impacting on the localized air quality management processes that which these local municipalities are supposed to implement for purposes of compliance. We have, however, led a number of environmental joint operations across the biodiversity, waste, pollution, and enhanced stakeholder engagement, which in themselves have actually resulted in fruitful inspections that which assist us in ensuring compliance throughout all these areas that which members have also spoken to. However, we do acknowledge that there is a need for prioritization and long-term commitments in the resourcing of air quality management functions by all spheres. There's also a need for overall government and the private sector to look at recapitalizing our air quality monitoring infrastructure and to address all the emerging pollution sources that which continue to contribute in terms of the emissions that which are produced. Let me then request the colleagues to go into the detailed answers that which members have asked. Dr. Kwaze, starting with yourself.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Acting DG. I will start with a question from Honorable de Block. Your question around monitoring stations from the private sector feeding into the South African Air Quality Information System and the confidence that we have. We have ensured that these monitoring stations do not have a middleman in between. So the information that is monitored from the instrument is fed directly into our Air Quality Information System, and there is no in-between device, and that allows us to collect information as it's monitored by the equipment. And it also then gives us confidence that in between, the industries have not had a chance to manipulate the data. So what you are seeing from the system is live information as monitored by the instruments. The question that was raised around, I'll focus on a number of operational questions, Acting DG. On the security of monitoring equipment, we recognize that the equipment from the monitoring stations from the Weather Service is facing challenges, and we are in the process of moving the equipment to secure sites such as police stations and the hospitals. And we have engaged with a number of police station commanders, and we are just finalizing the approval processes to move the equipment to the police stations, because we find that the police stations are our most secure sites. The issue around community awareness and raising awareness with communities from Honorable Makasi. One of the areas that we are focusing on is when we engage with any policy or tool development in terms of the air quality legislation, stakeholder engagement is mandatory. So we do engage with community stakeholders. We do engage with community representatives. And we use not only our ability as the national department, but the province and the municipalities to reach out to the communities. So for example, the priority areas, air quality management plans that we are finalizing, they are consulted with the communities that are affected on an ongoing basis until we finalize those plans through multiple platforms. And that has been a platform that we have used continuously since the declaration of the priority areas. The atmospheric emission license question from Honorable Temba. In terms of the atmospheric emission license disruption of the system, what has been the department's interventions? What we have done is when we recognized that we could not continue with the system and we needed to work offline, we collected all information onto the DFFE platform. And we ensure that the authorities and municipalities could continue to work without a system, but on a centralized platform, which is our Microsoft Teams, Microsoft One environment in DFFE. So there was almost a smooth transition between the online system and this manual, but almost online system through use of the One environment from the DFFE. What are the measures that we are putting in place to ensure that future disruptions do not occur? In the procurement of the new services, one of the strengths that we are looking at is the element of continuity and sustainability of the new system, so that we do not face the challenges that we experienced before. DDG, I think the questions that I did not answer are the questions that you summarized from your perspective. I have responded to the more technical questions that we asked by the honorable members. But if you allow me, the issues around waste management, DDG, acting DDG, if we can then take those questions and respond in writing so that we can bring in the colleagues from West to assist with the interventions that they are putting in place to manage residential waste. I would appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you, Dr. Kwase.
May I also recognize Mr. Luate to talk to the aspect of enforcements as well as the infrastructure provisions that which we're making.
Over to Mr. Luate. Okay.
Thank you, Chair, and thank you, Acting DDG. I think, and honorable members, I think maybe I must give a little disclaimer. Having transitioned from air quality to compliance, I might be a tad air quality biased, but rest assured, I'm striving to keep things balanced, or at least keep the dust down in this discussion. I think Acting DG, you've covered I think most of the issues that deals with air quality related compliance. I think maybe the honorable members have noted the challenges like non-compliance, and we have to address that and maybe deal with also the non-compliance with administrative enforcement, so that it remains significant. But I'm glad the honorable members have also noted another important systems problem that exists. I think Honorable Dr. Manaka has realized that where, for example, when I'm saying the systems problem is when waste is not collected and the community resort to banning it, which causes a bit of a problem. And I see that she was not leaning mostly to biomass banning, but mostly to a system challenge that we have noted in terms of the banning of the waste that is not collected, which give rise now to another issue that talks to air quality issues. And maybe I think one other issue that was raised that maybe we would have to take note of, that was raised by Honorable Mkhize, is the issue of also coordination with communities and engagement. Maybe my input on this one is to indicate maybe that since the honorable members have noted the shared responsibilities across the different spheres of government with distinct roles defined in the Constitution and the equality in terms of this responsibility. One, I think maybe from what the honorable members have asked is the collective approach that is necessary in addressing these issues. I think maybe there has been some notification, including also with compliance and enforcement of air quality management, that the responsibility has to be shared across each level and also playing a distinct role in ensuring adherence to air quality standards and regulations outlined in the NACO. I think maybe one take from the questions and the presentation, I think from you, Chair, is that this collaboration and on compliance and enforcement has to be structured, and I think it may be crucial for effective air quality management in our country to ensure the standards are upheld across varied and sometimes challenging local context. I wouldn't want to add on the acting DG comment on enforcement. Again, I think for now that's my input. Chair, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Luate. Acting DG, is there any additions to the responses?
I think as Dr. Kwase has indicated, there may be other specific questions that which we have not necessarily provided responses to which we will be able to provide detailed responses in writing at a later stage. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, that is noted. Mr. Luwate, is that a legacy hand, or you want to make an addition?
Apologies, Chair. I'm new to Zoom. I'm still struggling after COVID
Okay.
with manipulation.
Okay.
Apologies. I'm trying to lower the hand. Thank you.
Okay, no problem there. Honorable members, are there any follow-up questions? Noting that some of the questions that they have not responded to, they will respond to them in writing. They've indicated. Can I check if there's any follow-up questions, members? Okay, I do not see any hands. I take it that members are fine for now. Okay. Let's then move to the second presentation. Briefing by the Greenpeace Africa on the air pollution report titled Major Air Polluters in Africa Unmasked. I do not know who will be leading the presentation, doing the presentation, but that person can just indicate. Over to you, Greenpeace Africa.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chair. I will be leading the presentation for Greenpeace Africa. Good morning, Honorable Chair and Honorable members of the Portfolio Committee and all the officials here present. My name is Cynthia Moyo, and I'm the Climate and Energy Campaigner for Greenpeace Africa. But I'm not alone today. I'm with my colleagues. Please allow me to introduce them. I'll just request them to switch on their cameras so that you may see them as I introduce them. With me today is Dr. Aidan Farrow, Ali Abbas, and also Claudius. I'll just give brief bios of all of them. So Dr. Aidan Farrow has more than a decade of experience working in the field of air pollution. He is a senior scientist at the Greenpeace Research Laboratories, which are based at the University of Exeter in the UK. He has previous experience working as an academic researcher and also as an environmental consultant, and he is also one of the authors of this report. You may wave so that they see you, Aidan. Thank you. And we also have Ali Abbas, who works with the Clean Air Unit at Greenpeace East Asia, originally from India. He is currently based in Seoul, South Korea. Ali was part of the project team for the report Major Air Polluters in Africa Unmasked and contributed to the documenting of community stories of change within the report. Ali? And we also have Claudius. Claudius is a social scientist with more than 2 decades of applied social science research, mostly focusing on water governance, food security, and climate change in South Africa and other countries in sub-Saharan Africa. So that is the team that I'm with today, and we'll be here to do the presentation and also to answer any questions that you may have. I will share my screen so long. I'm sorry, Chair, do I share the screen or you share it from your end? Just to confirm that.
Let me check with my team whether they will be able to flight it for you. Tanta, can you assist?
She's been given a co-hosting rights, so she can share.
Ms. Moyo, yeah, we can see the presentation.
All right, okay. There we go. I'll just switch off my video so that we can go ahead with the presentation for today. Just to note that the previous speaker just acknowledged that the priority areas were established many years ago, and progress has not been good enough, and that there's also a lot of broken air monitors in Gauteng. I mean, where lots of people live. And yes, in many parts of Africa, a lack of air quality monitoring has allowed pollution to remain hidden. So our report really investigates the biggest human sources of air pollution across Africa, focusing on major industrial and also economic sectors, including the fossil fuel industry. So let's dive straight into the report. The recent reports from IQA, the Health Effects Institute, the UN Environment Programme, and WHO all highlighted dangerous air pollution exposure and the associated burden of disease across Africa. So our report really aimed to accelerate action at the root causes of air pollution and asks, what are Africa's biggest air pollution sources? The report considered emissions of NO2 and NOx, SO2, non-methane volatile organic compounds, and also particles, including black carbon. These pollutants are closely linked to fossil fuel burning and all contribute to secondary particle pollution. Fine particulate matter is a leading risk factor for deaths in Africa. So what sources, did we use to collect our data? So we used three. We had the satellite data, we have emission inventories, we also have a peer review. So why satellite data? Because, satellites can monitor where there is no directly measured data. Satellites can estimate the amount of a pollutant in the atmosphere above points on the Earth's surface. This is used to estimate the emission rate from large pollution sources. So we use data from the European Space Agency Tropomi instrument for NO2 and SO2, the NASA OMI and OMPS instruments for SO2. So the report presents published data from Bell et al. 2023 and also Fyoletov et al. 2023. And we also used emission inventories. Why did we do this? It's because these are large databases that contain estimates of emissions by location and also economic sector. This is used to indicate which source types contributes the most pollution. We analyzed two databases, and then we also did a peer review. This is the data presented in the report. The data presented in the report is compiled from peer-reviewed literature. And also to note that the report was externally peer-reviewed by experts, including the World Health Organization, WHO. So what are the findings of this report? The findings are that the emission hotspots align with thermal power stations, thermal power plants, the cement plants, the metal smelters, industrial zones, and also urban areas. And of what was alarming was that of the world's 10 largest NO2 emission hotspots, 6 are in South Africa. Of the world's 10 largest SO2 emission hotspots, 2 are also in South Africa. And of Africa's 10 largest NO2 emission hotspots, 9 are South African power plants. And of Africa's 10 largest SO2 point sources, 4 are South African power plants. In Southern Africa, the sector that is contributing most to NO2, your VOC and SOS2 emission is the energy sector. And in South Africa, the energy production alone contributes 23% of the PM2.5 burden. Waste burning is both in residences and the dumps, also an important factor that is contributing to the black carbon emissions. So as you can see, this is the nitrogen dioxide satellite data. And if you are to zoom in on the left, you can see that, the Mpumalanga area stands out. Notice the location of the coal mines and also, the power plants. So this is our nitrogen dioxide satellite data. The report presents published NO2 data from Bell et al. 2023. This is the data from Tropomi Satellite Instrument 2018 to 2021, a catalog of over 1,000 NO2 emission sources. Many power plants, cement plants, metal smelters, industrial zones, and also urban areas. Of the world's largest NO2 emission hotspots, the 6 are in South Africa, remember that one. And of Africa's 10 largest NO2 emission hotspots, 9 are Eskom power plants. If you go to the right, you would see that we have the Matla coal-fired power station, Kriel, Secunda, we have Matimba, we have Letabo, we have Majuba, we have Kendall, all these are owned by Eskom holdings. This is our sulfur dioxide satellite data. And just like the other one, if you're to go to the left as well, if you're to zoom in really on the left, you would see that the Mpumalanga area still stands out. Just notice the location of those coal mines and all those power stations. This is the sulfur dioxide satellite data. Again, the report presents NASA SO2 data, and this is a catalog of 700 SO2 emission sources, 2005 to 2021. And take note that we remove the volcanoes and leaving power plants, that's your oil and gas smelters. And of the world's 10 largest SO2 emission hotspots, 2 are in South Africa. Of Africa's 10 largest SO2 point sources, 4 are South African power plants. If you go to my right, you'd see that from number 1 up to number 4, we have Kendall, we have Kriel, we have Matimba, we have Letabo, we have Majuba. All these are owned by Eskom Holdings, and you'll see the emissions that they produce per year. And you'd notice that it's from number 1 up to number 10. It's because we're doing a report on the whole Africa as a continent. That's why you would see that there is also plants from Egypt, from Morocco, from Mali, and also from Zimbabwe. From the emission inventories, Southern Africa and North Africa are Africa's biggest emitting regions for SO2 and NOx. South Africa, Nigeria, and North African nations are large NOx emitters. SO2 emissions are also dominated by South Africa. South Africa is the country that's emitting the highest amount of SO2. That's 62% of the total African SO2 emissions, and this is from Kita et al. 2021. The previous speaker did, actually the Honorable Chair, you did mention in your introduction, about, the health impacts of air pollution. And yes, you are very correct. The exposure to air pollution is the second leading risk factor for death in Africa. South Africa has been found to have a large disease burden from fossil fuels. And this is from Highveld et al. 2019 and Boha et al. 2021. If WHO guidelines were met, the life expectancy improvements could really be achieved in South Africa, 1.6 more years in South Africa. So premature death rates from fossil fuel air pollutants are higher in South Africa than other Southern African countries. I will just now hand over to my colleague, Claudius, to take us through the recommendations that we have for today. Over to you, Claudius.
Thanks a lot, Cynthia, for the detailed presentation. And I'm personally happy that the earlier presentations and discussions also touched on issues that we are looking at in this report. I think to some extent there is some alignment in terms of the key issues coming out and potential pathways to addressing these challenges. Obviously, from our report, you can see that Mpumalanga stands out globally for its high air pollution emissions, and that makes sense probably because of the concentration of fossil fuel industries. So we feel that the government should urgently implement the Highveld Priority Area Air Quality Management Plan I think it was mentioned earlier on in the earlier first presentation, but also upholding the Pretoria High Court judgment on the deadly air litigation. We believe that any exemptions related to already weak air pollution regulations in this province and elsewhere should not be considered. And of course, coal-fired power stations reaching the end of their life should be decommissioned. I think we know that this has been discussed in many forums at the national and local level. And I think most of the key authorities in the country are aware of the need to reduce reliance on coal. So this is an ongoing debate, and we just reinforce the need to address this with a larger sense of urgency. Secondly, we feel that it's important to urgently decrease the economy's reliance on coal, oil, and gas, and accelerate the just energy transition towards renewables. I think, again, in this case, we are re-emphasizing the need to treat this with a sense of urgency, and particularly also mobilize financial resources needed to support the transition. We know there are efforts in this regard with our international partners, the private sector, and so on. We feel that efforts in this direction should be continued. Thirdly, it's important to enact legal frameworks for air quality management with the aim of achieving the science-based WHO guidelines. I'm encouraged by the presentation earlier on where we see that there is actually a lot of legislation and regulatory requirements, maybe monitoring systems as well, that just require more enforcement. So it's encouraging. I think we need to continue to strengthen and make sure that we have robust regulatory frameworks. The fourth recommendation would be to accelerate the development of air quality monitoring networks, prioritizing vulnerable communities, and providing data that is reported in very clear physical units of measurement at known locations, perhaps with clear visual images and direct online public access to to the data. I think this would help, especially when you think in terms of engaging communities and making sure that they are fully aware and involved. Number 5, we think it's important to closely monitor facilities that are already known to be responsible for significant air pollution, and developing publicly available and independently verified pollutant release and transfer registers, perhaps strengthening these systems because we now know they already exist. Number 6, we feel that the government and other key actors should promote clean, renewable, and affordable cooking solutions for families in need. This, of course, should be backed by evidence-based policies that lead to the eradication of fossil and solid fuel use. Also taking into account the need to meet local cultural, social, and gender needs, and all this being supported by adequate funding. Our 7th recommendation is to take urgent steps to end oil and gas production, flaring, and the use of fossil fuels in energy generation, and to deliberately work towards achieving net zero emissions by 2050 as per the Paris Agreement commitments. We also feel that there's a need to take stronger action to reduce waste generation, prohibit the burning of waste, as discussed earlier, stop waste colonialism, and provide access to more effective means or models of waste management. I think there was an earlier discussion about waste management, and it's right on point. As Greenpeace Africa, we are definitely committed to working collaboratively with the government of South Africa and other key players in the sector to catalyze the just energy transition and enable the country to meet specific air pollution reduction targets in addition to other climate change adaptation related aspirations. We have a few case studies of positive progress that has been achieved in some communities within and outside South Africa. I'll just mention a few for information. The first one is a community in Malawi, which is a country in Southern Africa where only 10% of the population is connected to the power grid. We find a narrative of change there. A group known as the Solar Mamas is driving transformation in their energy landscape. These are determined Malawian women who have undergone training in solar energy installation and repair. Their office efforts have illuminated at least 200 households in villages around Malawi's capital, Lilongwe, bringing much needed light to these communities. Notably, schools are now well lit, enabling students to attend classes in the early morning and evening hours. Moreover, the skills acquired by the Solar Mamas have become a source of income as they are compensated for installing and repairing solar equipment. Even though none of these women had traditional education, they were selected to be trained in India to become solar engineers through a remarkable initiative by Barefoot College International. Their journey exemplifies how knowledge, empowerment, and sustainable energy solutions can become catalysts for positive change at the local level and national level in Africa and beyond. I'll give a second case study of air pollution, a major victory in Mpumalanga, where violation of constitutional rights is addressed. In an environmental justice group, Groundwork and Mpumalanga community organization, Vukani, represented by the Center for Environmental Rights as the attorney, achieved a significant victory in the landmark deadly air litigation launched in 2019. And I think most of you are aware of this. In the judgment delivered in the Pretoria High Court in March 2022, the judge recognized the unhealthy air quality in South Africa's Mpumalanga Highveld as a violation of residents' constitutional rights to an environment that does not jeopardize their health and well-being. Furthermore, the court ordered the government to establish regulations for the implementation and enforcement of the Highveld Priority Area Air Quality Management Plan. The judge determined that the environmental minister has a legal obligation to enact these regulations, and that any delays in formulating and initiating the regulations to enact the Highveld plan would be considered as unreasonable. Despite the passage of more than 15 months since the judgment, actual measures that could significantly mitigate air pollution and benefit the communities residing in the Highveld region are yet to be implemented on the ground. So these are just some of the case studies that we think we can learn some lessons from and think more strategically about pathways to improvement. The last case study is the one from Morocco, where residents of an area called Kenitra were grappling with a black dust issue they believed to be related to a nearby industrial power station. Suspecting the power station and fuel, which is fueled by heavy fuel oil, as a significant source of particulate emissions, including fly ash and soot, they were concerned about adverse health effects such as respiratory and cardiovascular diseases. They took action. The residents took action and initiated the collection of scientific evidence on the composition of the black dust. In August 2022, 2 samples were obtained from rooftops and sent to the UK's Greenpeace Research Laboratory. The analysis aligned with fly ash from heavy fuel oil combustion, providing the community with crucial evidence to engage with authorities in the plant and enabling them to assert their right to a healthy environment via scientifically supported demands. So there are several options that we can pursue just to make sure that our air pollution levels are reduced, and perhaps perpetrators are brought to book and maybe make the needed changes to their industrial production processes. I'll stop here. Back to you, Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Chikozo. Ms. Moyo, you don't have any additions? Before I give over to honorable members for questions.
Please proceed, Honorable Chair, with the questions. That was the end of our presentation. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Moyo. Honorable member, you can switch off your video, Ms. Moyo. Thank you. Honorable members, I am going to note hands. We have received the presentation from Greenpeace. I see the hand of Honorable Nalumango, followed by Honorable Temba, Honorable Kumalo, Honorable Managa, lastly, Honorable Marcus. Those are the few hands that I've noted, so, followed by Honorable Mkize. Those are the hands that I see for now, in that order. Honorable Nalumango, you are the first one.
Thank you, Chair. What are the implications of waste burning on air quality in South Africa? And then how can transitioning to renewable energy benefit both people and the climate in Africa? Those are my two questions, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Nalumango. Honorable Kumalo.
Let me join my comrade for accepting the report from Greenpeace. But I'm just having only two clarity questions, Chair, that I want to pose. One, what measures can be taken to enhance air quality monitoring in Africa? Secondly, what legal obligations were established by the Pretoria High Court regarding air quality in Mpumalanga, and what actions were therefore taken? Thank you, Chairperson.
Thank you, Honorable Kumalo. Honorable Managa.
Yes, thank you, Honorable Chair. Mine is on the report that was published in 2022. South Africa's 10 largest emitters of sulfur dioxide. The report was published in 2022. I just want to find out, with all the efforts that we're doing in Africa and in South Africa in particular, on trying to combat the issue of emissions, are we still having about 4 companies that are still taking the lead as far as emitting the gases is concerned? The other thing, do we also have the results maybe from other countries which are not in Africa that are emitting? If we do have those, where are we rated as Africa or as South Africa? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Managa. Honorable Marcus.
Thank you, Chair. Again, welcoming the report as presented. My first question is, what role does the fossil fuel industry play in air pollution in Africa? The second one is, how does the lack of national air quality standards in African countries affect pollution management? And the last one is, what actions are recommended for the South African government to improve air quality in the Mpumalanga region? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Makasi. Honorable Mkiza, can other members lower their hands as they believe? Doc. Honorable Mkiza.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Mine maybe it will be just a suggestion, not a question per se. If for what I've just listened to, if the government can nationalize natural resources, maybe could facilitate and transmission to renewable energy sources. Maybe we need to look into that. And also the presenter, maybe if you can elaborate on renewable energy resources. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mkiza. Honorable Temba.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'm sitting here, I'm thinking, according to my understanding, I think the same presentation from our entity, it's the same as what they were presenting now, because now when I check, it goes hand in hand. But now my question is one, why as South Africans we are failing to do what Greenpeace is doing? Because now when you check here, you find that, or it tells us that as South Africans, we are failing to do this air pollution and getting the stats and everything. But now I feel that Greenpeace is the duplication of our entity. And who's funding this Greenpeace? If they can give us, they can bring us on board by knowing who's the funder of Greenpeace. Are they not coming to manipulate our policies and end up failing as South Africans? That's my worry, Chair. Thank you.
Honorable Temba, I think your first question, if I've captured you correctly, you are asking the department. Definitely I will have to ask them to respond to that one. Then the Greenpeace, I'm not sure whether they will be in a position to tell us their funders, but they will have to respond to your question. That's what I've picked up, that the first question from your side was based on department, and then the second one is for Greenpeace. From my side, just two questions to you, Greenpeace. You have mentioned your satellite data. I want to check how reliable is that satellite data compared with the data from ground-based monitoring stations? And can this data be used by municipalities to enforce legislations? The second one from my side, again, based on your data, are you able to see if there are improvements in air quality in the country, or if air pollution is getting worse or better? Are you able to detect that? Those are the two questions from my side. Members, can you lower your hands? Honorable Temba, you want to raise something? Because I see that your hand and your mic is on. Before I give over to Greenpeace, Honorable Temba, you wanted to clarify me on something? Oh.
No, Chair, I'm fine. Yeah, I'm fine, Chair.
Okay. Honorable Mandaka, I see your hand.
Yes, Honorable Chairperson, I just want to find out, where do we get the Greenpeace Africa? Where are they located?
Okay, it's fine. Noted, Honorable Malaka. Ms. Moyo and your team, can you respond to the questions?
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Over to you, Aiden.
Thank you, Cynthia, and thank you to everyone and the honourable members for hearing our presentation and offering these very useful questions. As the scientist within the team, I will attempt to address the more technical questions we've just heard before passing to my other colleagues for some of the policy and more Greenpeace related questions. We heard a little bit about waste issues in South Africa, both in this round of questioning and earlier in the discussion. Our report did uncover that some of the big emissions inventories recognised a waste burning issue in Southern and in South Africa from informal waste burning. One of the papers that we drew on particularly cited a lack of data on waste transfers and waste emissions within South Africa. So there was a large uncertainty in how much air pollution was attributable to waste. So I think we know there's a big issue in South Africa from waste burning. We don't know exactly how big because of a lack of data tracking how waste is being managed in South Africa. Another question I've noted here was on the benefits of improving air quality. And from moving away from fossil fuels and the pollution that they're associated with. And we've heard about this throughout the session today. We know that there are major fossil fuel and other air pollution sources in South Africa, and that these are contributing to serious health impacts measurable in thousands of deaths per year, large numbers of years lived with where people have air pollution related health impacts, such as asthma through to chronic respiratory problems, and things like this. So if South Africa is able to move closer to the quality of air recommended by the World Health Organization, we will see people's lives improve, people's life expectancy improve. During our presentation, we made reference to one statistic from the University of Chicago's Air Quality Life Index project. They estimate how much time in life expectancy is being lost because air quality is not meeting the recommendations of the World Health Organization. And for South Africans, that's over 1.5 years. If South Africa's air was reduced, air quality was improved to meet those guidelines, the average South African would live noticeably longer. So there are huge benefits and can be realized through action on air quality. And I think everyone in this meeting is really aware of those things. Another question related to South African SO2 emitters. The data we analysed show that there are a relatively small number of large SO2 sources in South Africa, and these are related to coal. Coal contains sulfur, so when you burn it, it's oxidized and you produce sulfur dioxide. And South Africa's reliance on coal for energy generation is closely tied to the SO2 emissions. These emissions are so large they can be measured from space using satellites. I'll come to the reliability of that data a little bit later. There was a question about how South Africa compares to other countries, and we looked a little bit at this in our report by comparing data for every nation within the continent of Africa, and a few findings really stand out. The largest emission sources of pollutants like NO2 and sulfur dioxide are in South Africa, where there's that heavy reliance on burning solid coal for energy generation. Some other countries that also have large industrial areas stand out too, particularly in Northern Africa. So Egypt, for example, has large industrial areas which also stood out. But South Africa is a particularly notorious point when you look at the satellite data. And the air pollution generated there does impact on neighboring countries as well. Another question was on the role of the fossil fuel industry within South Africa, and I've addressed that a little bit already. the heavy reliance on coal in particular really makes South Africa stand out as quite different to its neighbours. There was another point on whether African countries, I think beyond South Africa's air quality regulations were lacking. And I think we've heard today that South Africa has a very mature and sensible approach to air quality management that perhaps can do a lot more. But compared to many countries within the continent of Africa, it has guidelines and limit values, unlike some of its neighbours. So South Africa is ahead of many neighbours in that sense, but there is still a long way to go. And the final question I'll answer before handing back to my colleagues is around the reliability and quality of the satellite data that we've analysed in the report. We've used two principal peer-reviewed publications to source our data. One is from NASA and one is from a researcher called Fioletov. Both are peer-reviewed and published in well-respected journals. They use data from 3 of the world's leading Earth observation satellites. And in particular for the sulfur dioxide data, they use data from 3 different satellites. So they use OMI, they use OMPS, and they use the TRPOMI satellite. And the data we're presenting is the combination of those 3 using a weighted average. So that gives a lot of confidence in the data that's being presented today. Making observations from space means there is uncertainty and there are errors, but the combined approach brings confidence. We are presenting emission rates. So this isn't the measurement of air pollution at the surface, but it's the measurement of how much pollution is being emitted from a point source. And that has been achieved by comparing what the satellite sees at a power plant, for example, in South Africa, against what it can see in other countries where there are published and known emission rates. So the data are all calibrated with known data. These satellites have been operating for a number of years now, so it is possible to detect trends and to see improvements or worsening emission rates. Again, that builds confidence because each year the satellite is detecting similar things. And there was a final question on whether the satellite data could be used as an approach for enforcement. And this is somewhat of an open question. Our ability as scientists to analyze this data is improving. The error on the measurements is relatively large, but it allows us to identify major polluters that we perhaps weren't aware of. Also to track the trends, to see if one year is better than another. But I would strongly encourage that direct measurements at the point of emissions are used as well for enforcement, and perhaps that the companies responsible for this pollution need to foot the bill for measuring exactly how they're polluting the air that South Africans are breathing. I'll stop at that point and pass back to my colleague, Cynthia. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Aidan, for that comprehensive answer to some of the questions. Before I hand over to my colleague Claudius, I just want to quickly highlight that at Greenpeace we are honored that our work is funded almost entirely by donations given to us by passionate individuals from all over the world who care about the planet and want us to create change, and by grants from private foundations who share, our values. There were questions of also where we are. Greenpeace has offices in Cameroon, in Democratic Republic of Congo, that's DRC, in Kenya, and also Senegal and South Africa. If you want to get involved, please contact us through email. I, myself, Cynthia, am based in Johannesburg, right here in South Africa, in our head office in Rosebank, Johannesburg. Over to you, Claudius.
Yes, thank you, honorable members, for all the interesting questions. It shows that we are sharing information, and you really made it a point to listen and get the key issues coming out. I think the funding issue has been answered. I can only add that Greenpeace Africa works to protect the environment. That is our main mandate. So this particular report and the work that went into it is just a very small piece of what we do. We work on protecting the oceans. We work on protecting forests. We work on climate change and energy issues, food security and food sovereignty. We look at pollution coming from plastics and pollution coming from oil and gas. So these are some of our major issue areas that we are working in. In terms of duplicating work that the government is doing, I think that there was a point around that. Definitely there will be some overlaps, because I think naturally most governments would also want to protect the environment. That's why we have specific government departments working on environmental management issues, including the kind of presentation we had today. So yes, there will be areas of overlap. And in my presentation, I mentioned that we are committed to collaborating with government departments and other key actors. Yes, I meant it because we know there are certain areas where we will find common areas of convergence. We wouldn't want to manipulate our policies. We are a completely apolitical organization. We don't try to manipulate government policies. We would rather collaborate with government and find solutions to the challenges of the day. Elaborate on renewable energy sources. Yes, I think most of them are now well known, and technologies have advanced so well that in fact, the renewable energy industry is becoming a key economic sector. For example, we already have wind and solar farms in South Africa. Most of them are concentrated in the Northwest and Eastern Cape, and also, especially for the wind, it's Western Cape. Government has, I think you are aware that government has been running a renewable energy program since 2011, where it's working closely with the private sector to invest in these renewable energy sources and power plants. So at the household level, there are clean cooking technologies that are spreading across Africa. I think in Malawi, there's quite a lot that is happening in that regard. So these are some of the things that we can consider in terms of renewable energy sources. But otherwise, it's like a movement or a bandwagon that has already taken off, and South Africa is part of that transition. Recommendations from Mpumalanga to reduce air quality, I think that was raised. Some of them we mentioned in the presentation, and I think the government is also quite alive to the fact that Mpumalanga is a hotspot, and already there are things happening, particularly in terms of closure of aging power stations that are powered by coal. So it's not new. These are just areas that we need to re-emphasize, so that if we rely less on coal, I think to some extent the air quality will also improve in that province, and wherever else we have pollution from fossil fuels. I think the implications of waste burning were covered. How does the transition help people in Africa? Definitely, it's a big area of debate, very controversial, especially when you think about what constitutes the just part of the transition. So we know that we want to reduce reliance on fossil fuels. it's possible that some jobs will be lost when mines and power stations close. However, the establishment of renewable industries will also create new jobs. And there's a lot of knowledge on these issues already published, some of more research being done, including in Mpumalanga specifically, to see what are the options in terms of transitioning. How are local communities affected that rely on coal as the catalyst for the economy locally? So there are all these issues that are already being addressed on the ground, including by government itself. How do we reskill employees in the sector? How do we train the youth to contribute directly to the renewable energy sector? I think I'm aware of programs in Limpopo, for example, where women have been trained to install solar power as technicians, and some of them are also the youth. So, in terms of a transition, it will directly help some of the marginalized communities, particularly by their involvement in the value chain that emerges from installation of renewable energy. Maybe Cynthia, you can say something about the legal implications of the Highveld case. I think it was sort of finalized, but there are still some outstanding issues there. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chikoza. Ms. Moyo?
Thank you so much, Claudius. I think you had already highlighted on that one, but the point that I really want to stress, Honorable Chair, before handing over to you is that our independence as Greenpeace Africa is vital for us to be effective in our campaigning work, which is why it is really a core principle that guides all of our fundraising. There was a question that, are we coming in to manipulate the policies? No, we are not coming in to manipulate the policies, but actually, our work complements that of the government, as you have already seen from the previous presentation from the previous speaker. Over to you, Honorable Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Moyo and the team. Honorable members, I do not see any hands for follow-up questions. I guess that we are all fine and comfortable with responses. Yeah, I think we are done with the presentations. And let me take this opportunity and thank the presenters, both from the department and also from the Greenpeace Africa. All presentations were appreciated by the members. And yes, of course, as the committee, as I have indicated in my opening remarks, that our goal is to ensure that all spheres of government do their work to improve equality in our country. That is one of our mandates as this portfolio committee. And some of your presenters have mentioned that South Africa has a long way to go. I agree with that, we have a long way to go. However, we are working towards reaching our goals and our mandates as South Africa. We appreciate this kind of presentation from these organizations, and they are the ones that keeps us on our toes as well. And feel free to, if there's anything that you would like to share with the portfolio committee, you are welcomed. And we are the ones that keeps our department and entities accountable. We will look as the committee and see if we cannot invite some of these emitters that have been mentioned in this report to come and report to us Why are they not adhering or complying to what is required of them? With those few words, honorable members and colleagues, let me thank all of you for attending the meeting and also your valuable inputs that you have raised in the meeting, and presenters as well for their reports and their responses. I would like to thank all of you and the staff, committee staff that is in the meeting, and all those who have joined the meeting, because portfolio committees are also open for public to attend. So if there's other people that we did not note, we appreciate that you were part of this portfolio committee meeting. With those few words, we have noted from the department side that some of the questions, they will respond to them in writing. I want to give you a time frame. I don't think it should take even a week. I'm giving you a week from now to respond in writing to the questions that were raised by the members. Acting DG, I'm giving you a week. We will make a follow-up as the portfolio committee on those written responses. With those few words, members and colleagues, thank you very much. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you,
Thank
Chair.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Have a lovely day.
Greenpeace chair, asinomindi wenza side visit, ngibona i-background.
You want to go to Greenpeace? You want to go to Greenpeace and oversight? No, we know that we'll discuss it in the committee.
Sibona i-background.
Hello,
Honorable Makasi.
She's saying that she wants to visit Greenpeace.
Oh.
We will note that. We will note that. Okay, thank you very much, honorable members. You know that there's a sitting today, at 2 o'clock.
Yes.
Yeah,
Now I'm
okay.
in Parliament already.
Okay, okay. Now,
All right,
thank you,
bye-bye.
honorable members.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay. Greenpeace is saying we are welcome to visit them. I saw that they wrote in the chat. We will definitely go and visit them. Thank you very much. Bye, everyone.
Recording stopped.
Bye.